Hi everyone, and welcome to the channel. My name is Infantry Pulse, and today we're going to be doing some unit reviews from you, the community. So, via the Infantry Pulse Discord channel, I asked members to submit some of their favorite units to be featured here in this video as part of the first anniversary celebration of the channel. So without further ado, let's get into it. There are lots of these to go through, so many that I had to break this video up into two parts. So let's get started on part one. So our first unit is going to be Brave Dimitri from Rich Pichu. So this is basically the build that I had on the Lance Infantry Top 5 video. People like to really dunk on Brave Dimitri and say he's like not good and was never good from launch. I think he's actually quite good, and I think he can work really well, especially on light season now that we have dagger and air to boost his res. So you can get plus 10 res on light season pretty easily. Making him like a pretty good unit overall. He's got good damage reduction. This is a very strong build for him, especially with something like Mail Core and support. So yeah, I think this is the build to go with. I think the only thing maybe it would be missing would be something like Summoner support. But other than that, I think this is the build to go with for AR offense. Next, we have Nonbread brings us an Azura build. So this is Slaying Lance, Moonbow, Life and Death Spurn. So she is probably good. You got Water Season Blessed here, but I'm guessing you use her in other content. It's probably good to soak a Bright Shrine in ARO, for example, or ARD. I think that Life and Death and Spurn have a little bit of anti-synergy together, because Life and Death reduces your defenses, where Spurn is a defensive special. Having Moonbow plus Spurn is pretty good, because that kind of juices her up. The seal needs to be upgraded, obviously, but I know a lot of people that are starting the game just now, especially, have problems with getting enough Sacred Coins to do that, which is unfortunate. IS needs to turn up the rate at which they give new players Sacred Coins. But Slaying Lance Moonbow definitely has a lot of internal synergy for sure. I would look at Gale Force as far as Azura goes. I think Gale Force is definitely her best special, but the Moonbow Spurn combo is actually an interesting concept for sure. Alright, next up, we have Eric R's Dorothea. So this is his baby, right? So this is a Broadleaf fan build for ARO. So this is like a Vantage kind of set, right? I think that you probably want to look at... Close Foil's good. I would maybe think about Close Counter, because Saros exists. Not Saros, Sothis exists. But if you don't run into Sothis, then obviously this works fine. I also... Maybe, I don't know, I haven't used her enough, but I would maybe keep Dance on her, truthfully, instead of Reposition, but you know better than I do because you're the one that's used her and has done this strategy, obviously. I definitely think, though, the attack defense solo seal could be Heavy Blade instead to pre-charge Miracle a little bit better, especially if you're using a Bolt Tower. You don't need that extra attack from... the solo skill. Maybe the extra defense is helpful to try and get around, with Close Foil especially, to try and get around the Hardy Bearing users. Maybe that's the concept you're going for. So I would get that if that was the idea, but personally I'd probably take Heavy Blade. Pulse Smoke is also a choice. I would probably just go with Attack Smoke or Speed Smoke, just to boost Broadleaf fans' damage, but again, you're the one that's using her, so you probably know better than I do what has worked and what hasn't. You have this very invested Dorothea, so you clearly use her pretty often. But yeah, I don't know about the Pulse Smoke and the Seal specifically. But yeah, I mean, Broadleaf fan is great. Dorothy is a super great user of it. She's one of the highest attack daggers in the game, so she makes a very, very good use of that build. Okay, next up we have Joy's Camilla, her New Year Camilla here. And so this is Ninja Katana Dive Bomb, which is a great combination for sure. I would maybe think about Heavy Blade in the seal, so she can get 2 Moonbows off in the same combat. So she would attack Moonbow, before the enemy can even counterattack. That said, her attack is maybe a little bit low to be running Heavy Blade to meet the Heavy Blade check, but maybe it's not. But I think that having the double Swift Sparrow is a good idea. Push would probably be better. Well, maybe not, because Push has anti-synergy with Dive Bomb, right? So maybe it's not. Maybe it is Swift Sparrow here, actually. But yeah, definitely the Ninja Katana Dive Bomb is very threatening to get 4 attacks off before your opponent can counterattack. But like I said, I do worry that her attack is too low, that she might be 0x4 Queen in the style of Olwen. But other than that, it's a good build. It's good stuff. Okay, next we have Emerald Aaron's Speedheart. So let's start with Life and Death. I don't like Life and Death on Reinhardt because his defenses are actually quite good, especially at this level of investment. His defenses are quite good. So I would go with something like a attack speed push or attack speed solo even. Especially if you're using him on offense, which I see here you have the Astra Blessing on him. So if you're using him on offense, a solo might be actually better than Life and Death, just to give him that extra bit of that extra sturdiness that he would want, you know. Other than that, I think it's interesting. It's cool. Speedheart is definitely an interesting unit. But again, if you're going to quad, then you need the defenses because you're going to absorb a hit in return, right? You're automatically going to absorb a hit if you're trying to quad. Otherwise, you're just doing the Brave effect. And you're killing it anyway, so you wouldn't even need the speed. I'm not personally a fan of Speedheart, but I think that, you know, with the right investment, he can actually be quite fun to use. So, yeah, good job building up the Speedheart here. Okay, next up we have Ness's Julius, which is not a unit you see very often. Julius is due for a refine, for sure. He definitely needs it. But this is a speedy Julius. I worry about his defense being quite low, but as far as, like, being a range tank with null fallout pulse smoke, that's, like, a good build to have, like, making this is, like, essentially red Brunya, right? But he can get his defense boosted by Milla in... Oh, sorry, he's Dark Season, so... If this is on defense, that's a little bit more concerning to me because it's really hard to keep the defense condition, or the solo condition on defense. So, if this is an offense build, I would get it a lot more, but since it's Dark Blessed, that's a little bit more confusing to me. Obviously, the AI is better about doing solos now and putting units in positions that are going to make them better, but it's just less consistent as opposed to something like ARD speed or attack speed push or something like that. So that's something to look at for sure. But if this was an offense build, this would be really cool and interesting for sure. Okay, next up we have Phoenix Maze Claude, OG Claude. So Brave Bow, Swift Sparrow, lulled speed defense. Defense Smoke is an interesting choice. There's not a lot of great C slots, but if he's on defense, maybe something like, if this is a Cav line, something like Hone Cavs or Goad Cav even. But this is basically like the Reinhardt good old Brave effect plus Quicken Pulse plus Boombo. That's the idea here. His attack is a little bit low, even at this level of investment, so he might be doing the old 0x2. But he's trying to quad here, which is I also think is the move. But that's going to be a little bit harder to do on defense than it is to do on offense. So maybe it's good, maybe it works, but I worry about the amount of damage he's going to put out with only 48 attack on initiation with Swift Sparrow. But still, it's only 48 attack. A lot of units have more than 48 defense, so the Moonbow helps, but if they have any kind of guard effect, it's not going to go off, you know what I mean? So, definitely a quad build here, but I worry about him being able to do any damage and then also to survive any damage that's going to be dealt back to him in return. Okay, so Ilya's Crom. So this is Speed Crom with Frenzy. I don't think Frenzy is that good. I think it's worse than Spurn, especially on something like an enemy phase build like what you have here. This is built for Arena, which maybe, I mean, that might actually work a little... Frenzy might work a little bit better in Arena than it does in Aether Raids, but I would probably still think Spurn is the way to go, or, you know, Repel Close Call. Frenzy is an interesting choice for Arena, though. I haven't really thought about that, so that actually might be the move here. Sealed Falchion is just a great weapon, obviously. Super, super strong. Attack speed solo, I might go attack speed bond in Arena because the maps are smaller and units are usually closer together. But other than that, like, cool stuff. Pivots also, you want to, if this is for Arena, you want a higher scoring assist skill, so you would need like a rally plus of some kind. But other than that, good stuff, good stuff, good stuff. Okay, next we have Brave Blitz's Halloween Sakura, which is a unit that exists in the game, that I sometimes forget does. So this is Ouch Pouch Draconic Aura, meant to be used on an Infantry Pulse team. So this is actually, you know, pre-charge Draconic Aura with, she's going to have, what, 64 attack on initiation? Maybe a little bit more if you have Bremimond on your, maybe up to 67 if you have Bremimond on your defense. So that's a pretty good Draconic Aura overall. This is obviously like super invested, which is cool and all, and that's like a cool unit that you invested into. I worry that she does the job just like worse than like a Soth or something. But I mean, if you like Sakura, this is really cool that you built her up this much and invested into her. And actually with Outpouch Time Spell, she doesn't even need Infantry Pulse. I'm just realizing that she doesn't need the Infantry Pulse to pulse her down. She's independent. She's an independent woman. She doesn't need no Infantry Pulses. So the Sturdy Impact, Sturdy Blow combo is actually, I think, a cool addition to this. She probably has more defense because Not exists, so she's at 26 defense from Not, and then 36, 40 total defense, so she has 40 defense and 41 res. With Lull Attack defense, that's effectively even more. That's pretty cool, I think, to be able to survive, you know, those thick units. So really cool unit, actually. Good job building her up. That's really cool that you have her that invested. All right. Next we have Katakuna's Winter Altina. So this is mostly base kit, and then it's defense smoke in the C slot. Defense smoke is definitely a way to go if you're going for the Vantage strategy as opposed to the tank strategy with Winter Altina. That's a good option for sure. I personally don't think the attack res unity is very good. I would rather go with something like attack res solo 4, or even attack res solo 3 for that matter. I think that's just going to be a little bit more consistent, and it has less positioning requirements than something like Attack Res Unity, because you have to be within those two spaces. And also, Attack Res Unity is great if Altina is receiving any kind of penalties, but if she's not receiving any kind of penalties, it's just less stats in the solo. So I prefer the solo because it just is a little bit more consistent for me. I also personally run Heavy Blade in the seal, but attack defense solo is also super great, obviously. The extra defense is also good to, you know, help her survive if for some reason she doesn't get the kill or whatever. Yeah, good stuff. I love my Winter Altina. I think this is a good build for her for sure. Okay, next up we have a Niles. So this is Chandelirius's Niles. So Niles is a relatively popular unit. I think the speed defense solo helps him out a lot here. No follow-up's cool stuff. He has Flashing Blade in his weapon also, so that's all pretty cool. Iceberg is also great. Yeah, I think this is a good build. Like, this is just a good build. Niles is very comparable to me to Leone, except he has just the res and defense kind of swapped. And Niles is a little bit faster, I think, and has a little bit less attack than Leone, if I remember that comparison correctly. Definitely the Resplendent helps him out a lot, so cool unit. Yeah, firing off continuous icebergs is the idea here, so yeah, neat. Good job. Alright, next up we have Sylvain, Summer Sylvain. So this is a enemy phase Sylvain, which is not what you see very often with him. Usually you see a player phase build. So Amity Blooms plus Close Counter plus Lull Attack Res, Pulse Smoke, Attack Defense Solo. This is all good stuff. He probably wants more Res though. So this is really defense stacked. You've got like the Defense Refined, you've got Attack Defense Solo. Yeah, I would think about investing in his res a little bit more. Obviously, he'll get plus, if he's on light season, he'll get the plus 10 res between dagger and air. But I would think about switching Amity Blooms over to res as opposed to defense. Maybe that's because you want to live Not a little bit better, and this is your like anti-Not unit. But yeah, I worry about his consistency with how low his res is against something like a Bremimond. But again, you use him, so if you have the experience and you know that he doesn't really need that extra res, he really needs the extra defense, then maybe that's the right answer for you. Okay. Next up we have Penrose Kempf. So this is Rally Trap, Fatal Smoke, Heavy Blade Kempf. This is bread and butter Kempf stuff. This is, you know, this is the free-to-play Niffle. Everyone's hyping Niffle up really hard, but if you didn't have problems with Kempf before, you're probably not going to have problems with Niffle now. But yeah, this is a super strong unit, super spooky unit. The Fatal Smoke makes him, like, even scarier, like, because then you're not able to, you know, kill him as consistently. And as long as he attacks, Venom Edge goes off, so he doesn't need to live. Like, Fatal Smoke, he needs to live to apply that the after combat effect, right? But for his Venom Edge, he just needs to be able to attack. So as long as he gets one attack off, you're getting that flash effect, which can be really, really, really strong. So yeah, definitely a spooky unit, definitely a budget flash option. But this level investment just makes him so great. This is a cool unit. Good job, Penrose. Okay. Next up, we have map 93 with our new and improved legendary Lyn. So Laws of Sakura 2 is great. It has like Sakura's Blessing kind of built into it, plus a Spectrum 6, which is awesome. Makes it much, much better. The fact that it's an A slot is a little bit unfortunate because then you can't run G Duel with it. But if this is like a Aether Raids kind of build, then this makes it actually quite good. The Life and Death Seal is a good idea here, I think, because she is preventing counterattacks against the classic weapon triangle, or against melee units, I think. She prevents counterattacks by melee units against her with Laws of Sakura. So the defense is being reduced isn't really a big deal. The only thing that might be better would be like something like attack speed solo. Luna's probably good because you get it on the second engagement, right? 3 charge special is probably the right answer here, and Luna's probably the right one because I don't think her defenses aren't scaling well because of Life and Death, and using Draconic Aura is probably just strictly worse than Luna. So yeah, Luna's probably the move here. Yeah, it's a cool build. Good stuff. Null follow-up Lyn. Love it. Okay, next we have Forest Simp. So Forest Simp has a Kyria build for us here with attack, defense, unity. Quicker pose. So this is a defense build. So attack, defense, unity is actually pretty good for her because she's probably your unit that's soaking your Dark Shrine because her defenses are pretty high. Maybe your Saros is, but probably not. Well, maybe, I don't know. Well, we don't know. We don't know the situation, but yeah, she is definitely a very, very strong unit, especially with that quicker post. Make sure a pretty good frontliner as well as a good engager. She can't double on the player phase, which is unfortunate. The minus speed plus attack is actually like the ideal Boon Bane situation for her here. Soul is an interesting choice. I would probably go with a damage special. I don't think healing specials are very good on defense, so I would go with an Iceberg probably, or a Bonfire, depending on what your mythics are and what you're running. But it's definitely a super scary unit. Kyria is just a really, really strong unit overall. Very comparable to something like a Fallen Julia or a Fallen Male Morgan in terms of thick red tones. Okay, next up we have Female Robin from QSEF. I don't know how you're trying to pronounce that. This is an arena build. So Infantry Hexblade is like the feature of this build. So she's definitely like a support unit with her attack speed ruse and rally attack defense. She scores incredibly well because of G-Dual Infantry. I'm guessing Tactical Gale actually comes in kind of handy against things like a Brave Lyn, for example. I'm not sure about that. I don't know for sure. Boosting her speed is really interesting also, making her like super speed stacked with attack speed bond. But I definitely think the feature is Infantry Hexblade, giving your infantry allies that adaptive damage with her. That's definitely a selling point for sure. She's got balanced stats across the board as well, so that definitely helps her. Really cool unit. Not a unit you see a super lot, so it's cool to see someone invest in her in this specific way also, making her like ruse and infantry hexblade support. Cool unit. Cool unit. Okay, next we have Phase Guardian Spirit. This is his Summer Freya. So this is base kit for the most part, except attack speed menace. We killed a knot here to make this. You killed a knot. But anyway, so you killed knot to make this. She's just a good unit, right? So with Summoner support, she can become an effective tank. So this is a light season tank, of course. Binding Necklace is super great because it's a B-Scott skill, and a lot of Cavs struggle to find an effective B slot in terms of being offense units. The unfortunate thing is that she probably still, even with the res boon and with this level of investment, she probably still loses quite a bit of matchups against, you know, obviously she's very fast, right? But she probably loses a bunch of matchups to things like Bramimon because she doesn't have distant counter here. She has attack speed catch. So she's going to struggle against ranged units. Against melee units, I imagine she does really well. Like, I imagine her not matchup is actually, like, pretty good. Especially with Binding Necklace kind of countering attack speed menace in a little bit, in kind of a way. So stealing those buffs from her opponent and all that kind of stuff. definitely a cool unit. I love that she's colorless. That's really neat. I think she's held back mostly by being a cav unit. That's really where she struggles. If she was able to, you know, get some kind of null follow-up effect, then she would be much better. Okay, this is Hedon's Fallen Celica. So this is Repel. I'd probably go Spurn over Repel personally, but that's just me. And then, yeah, so we're just looking at like general content kind of stuff. This is a great unit. Like, Gale Force is really cool to have on her. If you were using on her 8th rates offense, you would want like a healing special probably. Maybe, I don't know though, maybe you just go damage special with Fallen Celica. But yeah, just a good unit. If we're using general content, then Pulse Smoke is probably not the way to go. Pulse Smoke is really just like an ARO skill. I don't think it's super useful. Maybe it is, I don't know. Maybe it's more useful than I imagined it to be in something like an arena. But if you're using her in arena, then you obviously have to go with a different assist skill. In general content, I would look at something like a Joint Drive for her C slot, or maybe something like, even if you're looking for budget, Speed Smoke or Defense Smoke or Attack Smoke, something like that. But yeah, cool unit, very high invest Celica there. Alrighty, next up we have Murfs Wrath. So this is a super scary unit. The trace skills are kind of maybe not always the best on defense, but as far as you know, getting more damage output, attack defense is good because it's giving him bulk. He's getting a lot of stats, honestly, between attack speed, catch, spendthrift bow, ARD far trace. That's super interesting. Panic Smoke is also an interesting tech choice, especially for AR defense, because there are often visible buffs running around. So Panic Smoke can actually be a pretty good idea here. Yeah, the only concern I would have would be the trace. And he's obviously like trying to be a rally trap, right? But that's like a pretty spooky unit, honestly. Like, just like looking at his stats, that's pretty good stuff. Well, except that on defense, he's not getting summoner support. So minus that part, right? So summoner support doesn't work on defense. So his stats are going to be a little bit lower, but still, overall, like high 20s defenses that are boosted by attack, defense, far trace, and spendthrift, giving him effectively 10 extra bulk. That's pretty good. That's going to be a unit that's hard to kill, and it's going to hit pretty hard overall. Okay. Next we have Heaven is Falling's Tailtew. I never know how to pronounce her name. So this is ARD stuff. Very fast, very strong. This is a pretty good unit here. We've got the Wrath effect plus the Darting Blow combo on her Tome, so she's hitting very, very hard. I might think about Null Follow-Up in the B slot. If you're making her this fast on defense, Null Follow-Up might be the way to go over something like Lull Speed Res. Although I would worry about her living the return attack, so that would be a concern of mine. But maybe even Wind Sweep would be nice. I don't know. Well, she's got the HP. Maybe she lives and then she fires off. Maybe go to Moonbow instead of Luna then too, because then she's getting the Wrath effect off that Moonbow. If she's getting hit back and she survives, she's probably at low HP because her defenses aren't super great. So maybe, I don't know. Joint Drive Speed is boosting her speed. She's very fast. She's very, very fast. It's a very fast unit. But yeah, I would look at Moonbow instead of Luna maybe. Okay, next up we have Eva Sheida. So this is mostly base kit, right? Gale Force is there as well. Heavy Blade's good stuff. So the idea here being Flow Refresh and Gale Force really comboing well to eliminate a unit and then hit another unit right afterwards, or hit the same unit twice. The only thing you have to worry about with Sheida in general, not just with this build specifically, is her survivability. So she definitely needs something that's going to make her not as squishy, because she's a little squishy. I know she doesn't look it, but her HP is not the greatest in the world, and her defense and res leaves something to be desired. She can, although she is booked and kind of billed as a Brave Hector counter, she can die very often to a bonfire in return from a Brave Hector, or from a Fallen Edelgard for that matter. So definitely got to watch her survivability. But overall, I think that's a pretty strong unit. Yeah. Okay, next up we have Loot. So this is Badowski Wozniak's loot. That's fun to say. So Badowski Wozniak has kind of a defense build here, but she's got summoner support, so imagine in your head that the summoner support's not there for defense. Desperation's kind of hard to work with on defense. Phantom Res 1, that needs to be upgraded, obviously. I might just go, if you're Phantom Res 1, I would probably just go with the flat res seal. It's more useful because it'll actually boost her real stats, and it's not that much different. Yeah, maybe just the flat res seal or the HP res, attack res, something along those lines. Just the flat stat boost. If you're looking for the out of combat comparison for Weirding Tome. Yeah, Panic Smoke's good stuff on defense. We talked about that before. Desperation's a little bit hard to activate, so I would maybe reconsider that one. But this is an interesting loot, and also not a unit you see super often. So Luke gets a bunch of extra stats from her tome, and has not Sabotage. What's the weaker version of Sabotage? The Ploy in her tome, right? So that's what she's kind of going off of there. Okay. Next up, we have Mizurikai's Canis. So Canis here looking like a whole ass Cavline counter. I wonder about his Reinhardt matchup, so maybe you can give me some insight, Kai, on his Reinhardt matchup. But other than that, I imagine he's just like raffle stomps a bunch of Cavlines with this build. I mean, he's so invested. He's got good speed. He's got the close foil, attack speed, solo, pulse smoke, all good things. And then he's got like the doll effect from the Keen Wolf tome there. Yeah, that's good stuff. I think this is the right build if you're looking for a Cavline counter. I just worry about him being red and then going into the Reinhardt matchup. And then also because you're using him on Astra Anima, I very much worry about his Saros matchup. Because although he's going to have, 30 defense, Saros hits very hard and she is blue, so that would be my other concern. But definitely a hard counter to a lot of Cavlines here. Okay, next up we have Asian Invasion's Leone. So this is a newer unit, obviously. Speed Smoke is an interesting choice here. I would think about something like Panic Smoke. The Budding Bow is such a great weapon, has the impact effect. And then having her speed stacked makes her really, really great for that kind of stuff. The Speed Smoke is a weird choice, though, just because I would go Defense Smoke if you're going to go one of the budget smokes, because if she lives, and she lives enough to get into Wings of Mercy range and then get Dance and all that kind of stuff, then she's not going to need the extra speed. She's going to want the extra damage, right, on the next hit. So I would go with Defense Smoke, probably, as far as the budget option, or Panic Smoke as another good one we talked about before. It's a good defense option for sure. But Leone definitely coming through with the free-to-play calves, so that's nice that we got that from IS. Okay, so next up, and the last one for this video, is going to be Hunley's legendary Julia. So, wow, just a great unit here. I'm not sure off the top of my head what her duel score is, but if it's less than 175, then you would probably want to look for the B duel 4. But if not, even that much, it's not going to be that much different, right? So if it's 170, then I don't think it's that much different, and probably the attack speed push gets you more. The speed investment here is insane. The Hone Speed 4 is great. Maybe look for Joint Hone Speed if you want to fodder her, that stuff. Rally of Attack's great. Aether's really good. She doesn't really need the high cooldown is not really great for her with Aether, but she also doesn't really need the Ruptured Sky because she already has Dragon Effectiveness in her tome, right? So this is good stuff. Light and Dark is boosting her score, as well as being just a great skill, especially for Arena. And this is max investment. This is really good. So yeah, good job building up this unit, Hunley. This is a very spooky unit that I would not want to face. It's in the same vein of Speed Crom, of like units that shouldn't be fast, but when they are, it's like, why is this so much worse? So yeah, good job building that up. Alrighty guys, that is the video. Just because I was looking at the runtime, we're actually going to break this up into 3 parts as opposed to 2 parts. So we got about a third of the way through the units that have been submitted. So that is part 1. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you submit a unit, they will get in eventually. But yeah, be sure to come back for some more unit review videos. We'll be doing a lot more of these apparently. So yeah, thanks so much for watching, guys. Make sure to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Make sure to hit up the Discord. That's where all these units came from, is from the Infantry Balls Discord. There's a link in the description. Make sure to like the video, and I will see you guys all soon. Thanks so much for watching. Bye!